Kathy here from kathyskutekreations. Today, the ultimate picnic, and it is the assembly, putting it together. So you should have this paperwork pulled out offline, and I'm going to show you what we have so far. Now, I have the strips that we did in week 3 and 4 laying down on the ironing board, but I have the other thing on top of the design wall. So let's take a look at it. There is the layout. And as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and do a close-up of my ant down there because I put his legs on him last night, and hopefully I've got this right. I'm going to double check it before I start taking it apart and sewing it. But let's get started on our strips. I'm going to show you what I have here. Now it's going to be blue and white, and in between the little, I call them cornerstones because of the little bitty 2-inch squares. So let's take a look. This is all you should have left, because this is what we're going to put together, and then we're going to assemble it. So there's the ant, and I kind of like fluffed up my black here, trying to get the threads out, because you know an ant body isn't smooth, it's kind of rough. But there he is. They normally have 6 legs, so I got 1, 2, 3 you can't see back there, 4, 5, 6, and then his little pincher type things for his mouth. And I went ahead and I put that at the bottom of my quilt. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get started working on it. You'll have 4 of those, and those are the width of the fabric, so those are real long strips, all folded up. 4 K's, 4 L's, because you can see it on the paper. These are the 2 by 5.5. These are the 2 by 12, and you're going to have 8 of each of these. Long one on the left, and then a K. So let me get it out here so you can see it. So we're going to take the longest strip first, then we're going to put a K right there. Then we're going to take the shorter strip, all in white now, like this, like that right there. And then we're going to put another an L. So let me pull this over to the left because I don't have enough room here. So we have a long strip, a little square, the K. Then we're going to put the L. Let me get it out here. Like that. We're going to put another short strip. And then we're going to put another K, which is this one here. So this one goes on here. And then we're going to end it with another long strip. Okay, so you're going to have a long strip, a square, a short strip, a square, a short strip, a square, and a long strip. And we're going to put them in order. We're going to make 2 of those to start out with. This is how I've set up since we've got to make this many. I'm going to go ahead and do chain stitch these, and then we'll attach those. And since we have to make 4 of these total, I got 2 up here on the sewing machine table, I'm going to go ahead and do them now. So we're doing the 4 long strips with the square letter K. Now, I'm still using a 12-inch needle. As a matter of fact, I even cleaned my needle because I did some other work yesterday. And I'm using the white thread for the bobbin as well as the top thread. And it's all 100% cotton. I've just cleaned out my sewing machine, so there's no bunnies underneath there or anything. And I don't need to pin it. I don't think it's going to be out of control here. And I'm doing 2.5-inch length of my stitch. You can always go smaller if you want, or bigger if you need to. Now, while it's like this, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the little ones now. We're chain stitching. We might as well get it all done. There's 4 of them. Don't forget to put your right sides together. You don't want to boo-boo. Now we're putting one of those short strips and the L that we sewed together, and we're putting another short strip attached to it. We're going to go ahead and do these 2 now. Don't forget, when you iron these, you want to relax your seam first. I should have 2 that look like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to attach this strip to the long strip that we did. Like this. So we're going to put them together like that. We're going to do two like that. And remember, if you've been starching, you want to continue that. You don't want to stop now that you're getting to the tail end of this. That's what you have so far. This is all attached. And then we're going to put these two to those two. And then we're going to be done with our long strips. So let's sew them together. This is how I have it set up. These are the two long strips, and these are the two that we haven't attached yet. They were sitting to the side. We're going to go ahead and do all of them chain stitching, so they'll all be finished. So on the design wall, what we're going to have to do first is we're going to need to sew our strip to our squares. So the bottom and the top row are going to have the white strips. The middle row is going to have the strip with the little red square in it. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Then when we're finished doing that, the side row goes on because the bottom actually overlaps this one. So it's going to be, even though they're all the same size, this is going to be the longer one when you're all done. So let's go ahead and we're going to do our strips first. And we're going to attach these little strips to our squares on all the rows, and then we'll end up with 3 rows completely done. And then we'll put this row, this strip, which is actually a row, considered a row, we'll attach it. But we're going to go ahead and do all of that. That one, the middle one, and the top one. When we sew all of this, you want to make sure that you don't go over your tips. So what I've done is I flipped my fabric, my block upside down. I went over here, found that it needs to go above that, so I'm going to go ahead and mark it. Then I'm going to flip this back over because it's been marked on the other side, and then I'm going to mark it and match it up because I have this facing downward and I want it to continue to be that way. But I don't want to go over that tip. There we go, and that's how we're going to mark every single one. I've got it down here on the other end, right here where my finger's at. But it's already flipped this direction. I can see it right there. So I'm going to mark it here with my ruler and make sure I go over that. And there aren't any more. And that's what I'm going to do. So make sure you have right sides together when you pin that. And like I said, I'm doing it on this side, and I'm going to do all of them like that. Now when I get ready to put my next one on, it doesn't need to be marked, but the other side of this one does. That other side, down on the other end, it needs to be. Now, since my aunt, I have to watch my directions here. I went ahead and I marked my other side so that when I do my binding, I'll be on the back side for my binding. So that's done because that'll be the binding side. This I'm going to put on this side because I want to make sure that this thing here doesn't get flipped up when it's sewing. Same with the end down here. Down here, I don't want this being flipped up, okay? So that's the only reason I'm doing it on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it, and then we're going to sew that one. And I'm going to go ahead and sew this on the other side, since it doesn't need to be marked or anything. Now, some of my blocks are a little bit bigger, but I am not cutting anything down because it's nothing that can't be fixed by sewing it and matching it up. Because you can always go in 1/8 of an inch. As long as that's all it's off, I don't have an issue with it. I just don't want to be trimming anything down. And I'll show you when I get to the end of this one. See how it looks like my strip is too small? But that's just a small amount. So my seam can still catch when I put the next block along there, so I'm not concerned about that. This block, when I was looking at it, it looks to me like this strip here is bigger than that strip. But you know, that could just be my eyes and the lighting that's going on in here, so I'm not going to worry about it. You're going to want to pay attention when you do this block because it needs to be marked right here. So you find your spot because you don't want to go over it. And then the middle one here is the same way. And the rest are okay. So I'll be sewing on this side this time so I can make sure that I'm watching those. So let me go ahead and pin it. Now, while I was pinning this row here, I see right here it started to come out a little bit. So I have to go back and fix that, but let me go ahead and sew this row first. Now when I fix this little spot here, which is what I'm doing now, I will not start where it's come apart. I will start at the other end and come off at that end, and I will decrease my stitch size so that it holds it better this time, because I know that seems to be an issue in that corner. So I just came down to 1.8, and I'm just going to stitch right off that. I'm not going to lock it into place or anything, but I don't think that those stitches won't hold. I think those stitches will hold better. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my length back up while I think about it. Start on the next row, which is the middle row. You're going to need to nuzzle your seams here. So that's the first thing you do. So that right there tells you you're going to get this block centered. And when I first sewed this white strip with the red, I went ahead and I had ironed all them towards the inside. Well, now they got to go to the outside because all of these are on the inside, remember? So that's what you got to be thinking about. Now I want you to go ahead and finish it. And if I come across something different while I'm completing mine, I'll stop and explain it to you. Otherwise, it should all be the same right now at this time. Okay, so if you followed me so far, we should have 3 rows of blocks and the 2 strips in the middle. And now we're going to attach this strip to this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain stitch it. So I'm going to attach this strip to this one, that strip to that one, and do both of those first. And then I'll attach the rest. So let me get it pinned. Make sure that all of these have been ironed outward so that they can nestle with the blocks. Alrighty, so I've put it at the table, stretched it out, make sure it's going in the correct direction. You want to put right sides together. And you want to do the middle first. So nestle it. Take a peek, make sure it's correct, and pin it. Which is exactly what I'm doing. Go to the right or the left, whatever your preference is. Do the same thing. We'll worry about whether it fits when we get done making sure we got it even. Then I'm going to go over here to the right. Now we can go to the end down here. Now make sure this is right sides together. You haven't accidentally put it upside down, because you'll need to repin it if you have. Go to the end, line up your strip, put a pin in it, just like that. And then where this seam is here, Okay, here's one of these little seams. This is what you're trying to match up. So put it, all you're concentrating on is from this cornerstone to the corner of your fabric. So you spread it out as nice as you can, and then you're going to put a pin in it. Let me put the camera like this for you, and hopefully I can show you. And you can pick it up and do it, it's okay. And I am pinning right here where that seam is, because this one would flip over on me when I sew if I didn't pin that down. And then you can go ahead and spread it out between what you've done here and what you've done to the right, and you can put 1 or 2 pins, because as you sew this, you're going to pull it taut just a little bit to make sure that it is straight. Then I'm going to go over here to the left, and now I'm looking at this, which is the seam. So I'm spreading between this and this, kind of making it straight as I can, and then putting a pin in here. And if you're new and you really need to pin, you can put a pin here, you can put a pin there. And I'm just going to slowly, I'm going to pull my fabric this direction. And I'm going to go right here. And this, when I get done here, that's going to be the entire right side. Now the reason that you're pinning is that you want to make sure your top fabric and your bottom fabric are staying even up here. You don't want it shifting where this one comes down or that one goes up, because then your seam won't be correct. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do the same thing. And then go all the way to the left. And I'm going to pin it to the left first. And when we get done with this, we're going to repeat the process with the other one. And we're going to smooth it out. I'm going to go to the middle right here, which is where my seams are, because I can see them. If you can't see them in the camera, that's fine. I can see them. There we go. I'm going to go over here. And this one wants to turn on me. We're not going to let it. And let me look at that one here a minute. Okay, so and this seam over here. Now, here's a spot right here that if I did not do it correct on the other side, I'm going to chop off my tip. Here, 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 here. Anywhere there is a half square triangle on this one also, it's going to need to be marked. So you can do one or two things. You can do it like I did before, where I marked it on the other side to get it even. Flip it over and mark it where it needs to be marked, for example. And you don't even need to do this. Let me fix the camera here. You don't need to do it with a ruler. You can do it with your hand. This one doesn't make a difference. This one does. See, now I know that's a 1/4 inch, but what, like this one here is not quite a 1/4 inch. So I'm looking at it thinking to myself, I need to flip it because I don't trust myself to do it. So flipping is pretty easy because you're just repinning it. No problem there. You've already got it all stretched out. Doesn't need to be played with or anything else. And if you want to use a ruler, you can use a ruler, or you can just put a dot right there like that and know that you got to go over it. or you can put your ruler up there and go from one side to the other. And then what I'm going to do is, since I have to come across this line, I put my pin on the right side. Let me go up a little bit so you can see it. So since I'm coming down this direction, I want to over here so that I can go ahead and come across this. So I got two choices. One, I can put, the disadvantage of putting it before you come across it is that it could, I mean, for one, this will stop the flip, but when it comes over, you could miss your spot because your foot will be in the way, where you can be watching it when it comes along here. Just go real slow. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark all of this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get you started on this. And then when we're done with this, we have to go ahead and pin the rows, the roll that's up there. But these are the first two rows that we just pinned. And I'm doing it on the side here that's got the marking so I can see it. If you don't feel like you need to do that, then you don't need to do that, but I need to. I want to make sure I don't take my tips off. I'll try to go as close to my pin as I can without actually getting on my pin. I need to put one in here. Let's see if I can put one in there and go over that. Let's see. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. It just depends. There we go. So I managed to get over that pin. Let's put that down like that. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. Give it a little tug. Let's see here. There we go. And you know, when you're done, you can always go back over it. And you can always go over it the first time with larger stitches also if you want to go back over it. Be on the split. I must have nestled that one. Okay. It's all about nestling your seams. The one that I put the strip on, let's see if you can see. So this is the middle row here with the strip, and this is the bottom row with the strip. So I'm putting them together and nestling them. I started in the middle, and either go to the right or the left, whatever your preference is, and nestle them. There's nothing about it that's going to be hard. All the marking is not on this side because this is your strip side. So all the marking is on this side. And you'll be able to see it. Remember, it's where the half square triangles were, which is right here, right here. It's all of these, all along here. And we're already face side up. So as soon as I get done pinning it, we'll mark it. So go ahead and pin all of yours. And I'll get my marker. Okay, now we need to mark these. And it's going to be on this one as well as the other one. So find your crosses and put your mark, because that's where you want to make sure that your sewing machine goes over. It doesn't take your tip. And I believe I've got one down here. Let me back up the camera, see if I can get it in the shot. Alrighty. Right here where these two cross over and where those two crossed over. I tell you, I don't know how many countless times when I used to sew at the very beginning, I never knew about this marking. I never could figure out how I could avoid taking my tips off. I never figured it out. I was too inexperienced. Now that all that's marked, I'm going to go ahead, back you up a little bit here. Okay. And since this one, I'm going to do it real carefully. This one needs to go on this one. I'm going to flip it over like this. And then I'm going to flip it like this so I can see all those pins and bring it out like this. And then I'm going to pin it. You do it whichever way is most comfortable for you, or just go ahead and sew only that side and then come back and pin it. But I'm going to go ahead and pin this. Okay, all kinds of marking. I'm going to use a thing here for pointing. So this is a mark here, a mark there, a mark there, and on down. Everywhere there's a half square triangle, there's going to be a mark. Here's a half square triangle, here's a half square triangle. So these are all marks. That's what you're looking for. This is going to be loaded with the marks, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and get this marked up before I sew it. Let's go ahead and get started with this, and we're going to do both of these. Oops, I think I want that open. Because I want that open. And now I can see where my line just went. I don't think I need to mark it. There we go. All right. And just go ahead and finish all yours up. Just take your time, get them both done. And then we'll be back here to do the sides, because that's what's coming next. It's going to be the sides. As soon as I iron these seams when I'm finished here, because you want to iron them and get them flat so you can get it to its full size before we put seams on it, or side seams. Okay, so now it's all together right here, all the rows, all 9 of the blocks, and now we're going to put the sides on. Okay, so I have both the right and the left side pinned, and I pinned it so that I could mark it all along. So that's what you want to do too. Go ahead and get both these sides done, and then we're going to do the top and the bottom. Now your quilt is supposed to be 38 by 38. Unless you made it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, and that's fine. Just measure each side and then cut your strip to that side and then pin it. You can split it in half or split it into quarters if you want to even it out. And then you won't have any kind of ripple or anything when you do that. So go ahead and do both your sides, and then we'll be back. Match the top and the bottom. I'm doing one at a time, so I'm doing the bottom first. Then I'm going to do the top. I've already got it pinned. I'm just taking my time. And then when we get done, we're going to put it up here on the design wall so y'all can look at it. If yours is smaller or bigger because your 1/4 inch was off, don't panic about it, because what you're going to do is you're going to measure. When you measured your sides, they told you how long to cut your first strip, and then when you measure your top and bottom, measure them both before you cut anything. If one of them is slightly longer than the other, and by slightly I say a 1/4 inch, even a 1/2 inch, it doesn't make any difference. You can still do it because it's opposite sides. You can pull a little bit and stretch on the quilt itself, or you can pull a little bit and stretch on the binding. The strip. Either one will work to make it the size you need it to be. Okay? It's supposed to be 38 for the first. The whole thing was 38 to start out with, so if you measured it and yours was 39, don't panic. Just go ahead and make it 39. Don't try to cut anything down to make it 38. Don't do that. Okay? Go ahead and cut your strips so that they'll equal whatever your quilt equals. If it doesn't work and you need more batting, or you can take, you can use that whole strip if you wanted to, but if you needed extra fabric because you ran out, well, then just add your own colored strips, a blue or red or white. It doesn't make any difference since it's going to be your quilt anyway. Never worry if you run out of fabric, because you can always put something else in its place. I've done that before on other quilts. I've even rearranged them. If for some reason you didn't even want to do all of these blocks, you could have made a table runner out of 3 of them, and that's it. And put 2 borders on the sides. You didn't even have to do the whole thing. It's yours. You're creating your own quilt, table runner, whatever you want out of it. I did a Christmas quilt. The really nice, easy one had big blocks in it. Same company. I bought the fabric, and when I got to looking at it, I didn't care for the way it looked, so I just changed it. That's all. So mine didn't come out exactly like theirs, but it really came out the way that I wanted to. It's really nice. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't have to be exactly like everybody else's. But anyway, I'm going to stop here and let you guys go ahead and complete yours, and then I'll stick it on the design wall. Okay, this is how far we've gotten. I've got all the sides on. And now we've got to put our strips that we spent 2 weeks making. So let's get that lined up. I'm going to put it on here on the other table. Okay, so I've got it crunched up here on the table. But first, let's look at the picture. All right. So I took my quilt from my table and I turned it this way. So this is the top left side of the quilt, and I have it right over here on the right side because I turned it like this. So you can see that is right there so that I could line up my pieces correctly. So it says here that for the side, you want to have, in the corner here is red and then blue. So I have the corner red and then blue. And that's how it's laid out there. Then I folded my quilt so I can get it all on the table. And I took my picture down here. And this is this right here. Okay? And then I put it up there, and I see here that it's a red and a blue. So it's blue on the corner. Okay? Think of a half square triangle, half of it blue. Look over here, and yes, it's blue. So I've got it lined up correctly. All I have to do is attach it with the pins. Or if y'all want to use clips, you can use clips. But I'm going to be marking mine. I'm going to flip the bottom one over here to show you. Because when you turn it like this, you're going to want to watch right here so that you don't clip off your edge. So I'm going to mark it right there. And I'll mark all of mine and pin it, and then I'll sew it. Alrighty, so I have both sets pinned right here. And now I'm going to sew them. And every corner gets a mark of some sort, because these are all those quarter square triangles. So everywhere it looks like a half square triangle come up and met. So there you need a mark on every single one. So there'll be a lot of marking, a lot of pinning. And I did it all along here also. So I just got to go down there and just take my time and sew it all. Hope that's not too fast for you. So let's get over here to the sewing machine. I got myself backed away quite a bit because I've got the quilt over here on the left. I don't want to bump the camera. It did it before. So I am doing the 2 sides first, and then you do the top and the bottom, just like we did when we were doing the borders. have it on the table, just like I did before. And so I am going to turn my pictures. This is across the top, so this is the middle, the left, the right-hand side, looking at the picture. This is the bottom part. So the bottom part is this, down here. This is the bottom. So I've got my fabric laying like that. And I got my 2 long strips out here. So I need the strip that has the 2 red pieces going like this, because they're going to go up at the top. And it's actually up underneath the camera here, so I can't show you, but these will match right here. And then at the other end, hold on one second and I will move the camera, and you can see the polka dots right here will match right here. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to pin it just like I did before, and I'm going to do all that marking. So you guys do the same thing, and let's get both sides, the top and the bottom, prepped so that we can, which is pinned, so we can get them sewn, and then we're going to be finished with it. So here I have the top and the bottom attached right here on the table. So now we're going to sew that, and then when we're done, I'll try to hold it up here to show it to you. I wanted to mention real quick before I show you the finished quilt that when you do this last row, which is the top and the bottom, you are snuggling up the corner because you want them to match here. Alrighty, so you're splitting them in half. I just want to let you know. It really looks nice. Isn't that pretty? That is so pretty. I hope everybody enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And I really appreciate everybody watching. If you're new and this is the very first mystery that you've done with the Fort Worth Fabric Studios, then maybe you learned something, whether it was you figured out your 1/4 inch, that's something to learn, or you cut your fabric, or anything. Then kudos to you for learning something, because this taught a lot of things. And I want to thank the Fort Worth Fabric Studios for creating this quilt, matching up the fabric that goes with it, because these are really nice colors. It all looks really, really good. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that's contributed to that quilt. And thank all my YouTube subscribers for watching. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.